Okay, in this video I'm going to be working on a mini ITX build. This particular case that I'm using is, I believe, and I got it off of Newegg on one of their deals, but nowhere on the case is there anything about the brand or anything like that. So I guess I'll just show you the invoice. It's that right there, SVR Chas I Star S21-20F2R. So that is the chassis that I'm using for it. And then I'm going to be putting in a board that I reviewed earlier, this Intel D525MW with the built-in Atom processor. So I'm going to be putting this together, and I haven't decided if I'm going to use a 5400 RPM laptop drive or an SSD. I think to keep costs down for this particular build, I'm going to do a 5400 RPM laptop drive here to keep the cost down, like I said, and storage, up. I'll kind of play around with it a little bit and see how the speed goes. So anyway, I'm going to get started on the build here, and I will do some video as it progresses. Okay, so I'm about halfway through anyway, maybe a little further. What I've done here is I've got the board installed, and I've tied all the cables as best as I could up here in the front. I need this m-itx out because I'm going to use that for some power for a couple of devices. I've got the USB and the front panel. I'm probably going to do something with, to tidy these up a little bit, or maybe not, I don't know. I might just try to tuck them back in here or something. I am going to populate this mini PCI Express card here with a wireless card, which I am waiting on, and I'm also waiting on some SODIMMs there. I'm going to put 4 gigabytes of DDR3 SODIMM memory in those 2 slots. So I am waiting on those before I can finish this build up. And I've got the top panel is where you mount the hard drive, so I've got that ready to go. I'm going to try to get a shorter SATA cable as well too. And then I'm using this here, m-itx to SATA connector off of there, because I also wanted to kind of daisy chain this in the middle, this slot fan. I'm going to mount that in this knockout, and my idea there is it's going to be right over this heatsink, and it'll pull up some air from there, cooling the RAM. It'll just pull some stuff from here, or excuse me, not some stuff, some air. It'll pull some air from there, probably some air from down here if I don't block that off. And then there's a little bit air can actually pass through here in where these bolt mounts would actually mount an 80mm fan if I wanted to, but I just don't think I need quite that many. I think one of these here is going to move more than enough air to satisfy the amount of heat that's going to be generated. And so yeah, so anyway, I'll get all that tidied up and get my RAM in and the wireless card, and then I will get those installed, and then we'll continue the video from there. Okay, so here I am with the final assembly. See, I've got the hard drive mounted there on the top plate. I couldn't find a shorter SATA cable. It looks a bit ridiculous, but I think it'll be just fine. So got everything all plugged in. The RAM, I installed 2 2GB DDR3 sticks, so it's got 4 gigs total. See, I've got that fan installed, and it is pulling the air up off of the processor heatsink and exhausting it out the back. And honestly, it's really no louder than the power supply. That's kind of a noisy power supply that comes built into this case. And that fan really isn't any noisier, and it moves a lot more air, and it pulls it across everything as it comes through, and so that works out good. And then back there I did install the mini PCI Express network adapter. Excuse me. wireless network adapter right there. So we did get that installed, and everything, if I can learn how to zoom in and out, everything worked out pretty good. So yeah, so basically just tuck everything up underneath here, and there, well, there it goes, and it's all together. So now I'll do some operating system install and some testing, and we'll report back with how well it does. Okay, so the system's up and running, and I've got Windows 7 installed and updated, and everything is working great. So let's take a look at idle. According to the kilowatt meter, we're using 39 watts. And now I'm going to go ahead and start up Prime 95 and then do the torture test on all 4 of the logical cores. It's a dual core Atom with hyper-threading enabled. So under full bore stress of Prime 95, we're at 46 watts. So a minimal jump there of about 7, maybe 8 watts depending on the fluctuation. I'm sure it will fluctuate a little bit. Okay, so oops, there we go. Got it all up and running. And then let me kill Prime 95 here. And exit. Okay, well, what we've got, according to the Windows Experience Index, I didn't, expect much from this computer. It's similar to, this is kind of on the realm of a laptop, really. So we've got a 3.5 on the processor, 4.9 on the memory, 2.8 graphics, 3.0 gaming graphics, and 4.4 on the disk transfer rate. So it's a fairly low Windows 7, but for this small of a machine and an Atom processor, integrated graphics, not much to go off of. That's as good as it gets. Although the fan on the power supply is a little bit louder than I would have liked. The PCI fan that I did install on top of the processor to pull out, I went ahead and switched the Molex over to where it runs the fan at 5 volts. 12 volts was just way more air than we needed, and it was kind of audible. Not so much audible over the power supply, however. That power supply is just extremely noisy for but it's got one of them itty bitty tiny, probably like a 4 centimeter or maybe 3 centimeter fans. So to move air with the 3 centimeter fan, it's got to make some noise, unfortunately. So that about wraps it up for this m-itx system, and concludes the build. And now this is off to the client, so hopefully this is what the client wanted, a very, very low powered small computer. So anyway, that wraps it up, and as always, thank you for watching.